I stepped off the plane after 11 years away, my carry-on containing more legal documents than clothes. Mom opened the door with tears in her eyes. Her new husband greeted me with his fist. "Welcome home," he slurred, bourbon heavy on his breath. The sting across my face wasn't what hurt most, it was seeing Mom look away, pretending not to notice. They called me cold, calculating, ungrateful. Maybe they were right, but I had something they didn't expect: the original deed papers they thought were lost forever, and a very good lawyer on speed dial. My name is Claire Matheson, and I hadn't set foot in Ohio for 11 years, not since the day I packed everything I owned into 2 suitcases and caught a Greyhound to New York with my military scholarship papers and a promise to myself that I'd never look back. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was reviewing audit reports in my Manhattan office. My grandmother's voice, paper thin but steady. "Your grandfather passed. Claire, the memorial is Saturday. You need to come home." I almost said no. Would have, if she hadn't added, "You need to see this with your own eyes." The flight from LaGuardia to Columbus took 2 hours. 2 hours to undo 11 years of carefully maintained distance. I rented a car at the airport, muscle memory guiding me through the familiar streets of my hometown. Everything looked smaller than I remembered: the houses, the trees, even the high school where I'd graduated valedictorian before enlisting. The house sat on Maple Street, same as always, white siding, black shutters, wraparound porch, but the mailbox read Carlton now, not Matheson. My mother had taken Rick's name when they married 3 years ago. She'd sent me an invitation. I'd sent my regrets and a check. I parked across the street and sat for a moment, studying the place where I'd grown up. The garden my father had planted was gone, replaced with gravel. The basketball hoop he'd installed for my 13th birthday had vanished. Even the old oak tree looked different, half its branches missing, probably deemed too close to Rick's precious garage addition. My phone buzzed. A text from my assistant. "Legal documents uploaded to secure folder as requested. Good luck, Claire." I grabbed my bag and crossed the street. The front door opened before I could knock. Claire. My mother looked older, grayer, smaller. She pulled me into a hug that felt like an obligation. "You're so thin. Don't they feed you in New York?" "Hello, Mom?" She stepped back, her smile faltering. "Well, come in. Rick's in the living room." The house smelled different. Cigarettes and something else: neglect. Maybe. The hardwood floors my father had refinished by hand were scuffed and dull. Family photos that once lined the hallway had been replaced with Rick's deer heads and fishing trophies. "Look who finally decided to grace us with her presence." Rick's voice boomed from the living room. He didn't get up from his recliner, my father's recliner, reupholstered in hideous camouflage fabric. "The prodigal daughter returns." Rick Carlton was exactly what you'd expect: mid-50s, beer gut, permanent sneer. He wore a stained t-shirt that proclaimed him world's best grandpa, though he had no grandchildren. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Rick," I acknowledged him with a nod. "That's it, Rick. No good to see you. No thanks for taking care of my mother." He took a swig from his beer. "Typical." Mom fluttered between us like a nervous bird. "Claire's tired from her flight. Let me show you to your room. Honey?" My room turned out to be a storage closet. Boxes labeled Rick's bowling trophies and hunting gear were stacked against the walls. A pull-out couch had been wedged between them. "Where's my bedroom?" I asked, though I already knew. "Oh, well, Rick needed an office. You haven't been home in so long. We didn't think—" She trailed off. "This is fine, isn't it? You're only staying a few nights." I thought of my apartment in Manhattan, my sanctuary with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. "I'll get a hotel." "Don't be ridiculous. Family stays with family. What would people think?" What would people think? My mother's eternal concern. "I need to use the bathroom," I said. Even that had changed. Rick's razors cluttered the sink. His prescription bottles lined the medicine cabinet: Percocet, Vicodin, Xanax, a winning combination. The shower curtain featured Confederate flags. In my childhood bathroom, in the house my father, who'd served 2 tours in Iraq, had bought with his veteran's loan. I locked the door and opened my phone, pulled up the secure folder. Everything was there: the original purchase agreement from 2009, my co-signing documents for the mortgage, the conditional transfer clause my mother had clearly never read carefully. Most importantly, the exit provision that required both parties' consent for any major changes to the property's ownership structure. My name was still on those papers, had been all along. Downstairs, I could hear Rick's voice getting louder. Ungrateful little, walks in here like she owns the place, hasn't contributed a dime. I smiled at my reflection in the mirror. If only he knew. The memorial service was tomorrow. I'd pay my respects to my grandfather, the man who'd taught me to read legal documents before I signed them, the man who'd said, "Claire, always keep copies, always know your rights. Never let anyone push you out of what's yours." I walked back downstairs. Rick had moved to the kitchen, helping himself to another beer. Mom was heating up something that looked like cafeteria food. "I'm going out," I announced. "Where?" Mom asked. "To see Grandma. She asked me to come by. At this hour, it's almost 7. She's expecting me." Rick snorted. "Figures. Always was the old lady's favorite. Probably hoping for an inheritance." I grabbed my keys. "I'll be back late. Don't wait up." "This is still my house," Rick called after me. "My rules. Be back by 10 or find somewhere else to stay." I paused at the door, turned back to look at him. Really looked at him. This man who'd moved into my father's house, sat in my father's chair, slept in my father's bed. This man who thought he owned everything just because he'd married a widow desperate not to be alone. "Of course," I said quietly. "Your house, your rules." For now, the visit with Grandma lasted longer than expected. We sat in her kitchen, going through old photo albums and documents she'd kept just in case. By the time I returned to Maple Street, it was past 11. The house was dark except for the TV's blue glow from the living room. I used my old key, surprised it still worked, and stepped inside quietly. The smell hit me first: bourbon, stronger than before. Rick was passed out in the recliner, empty bottle on the side table. I moved toward the stairs, careful to avoid the creaky floorboard near the banister. Almost made it. "Where the hell have you been?" Rick wasn't asleep. He lurched from the chair, stumbling slightly. "I told you 10 o'clock. You trying to disrespect me in my own house?" I texted Mom. She knew I'd be late. "I don't give a damn what you told her. When I say 10, I mean 10. I kept my voice level. "I understand. It won't happen again." "Damn right it won't." He moved closer. Bourbon fumes overwhelming. "You think you're better than us, don't you? With your fancy job and your New York attitude." "I think I'm tired. The memorial is early tomorrow." "Don't you walk away from me!" His hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. "I'm talking to you." "Let go." "Or what?" "You'll run away again, leave your mother to wonder what she did wrong." His grip tightened. "She cried for months after you left. Months. And where were you?" "Building a career. Something you might not understand." The slap came fast, hard across my left cheek. Not a punch he was too drunk for accuracy, but enough to snap my head sideways. "Rick." My mother's voice from the top of the stairs. She'd been awake, listening, waiting. "Go back to bed, Lydia," he growled. She hesitated. Then I heard her bedroom door close. Of course. Rick released my wrist, satisfaction spreading across his flushed face. "You're nothing special, girl. Just another ungrateful brat who abandoned her family. This isn't your home anymore." I touched my cheek, already feeling it swell. "You're right. It's not." He blinked, surprised by my agreement. "I'll stay at a hotel tomorrow," I continued, "after the memorial." "Good. And don't come crawling back when you need something." I walked past him to the pull-out couch, pulled out my phone, and opened the camera. The lighting was perfect, his handprint still visible on my face. I took several photos, different angles. Then I opened my legal app and started a new incident report, time-stamped and detailed. Rick had shuffled back to his chair, already reaching for another beer from the mini-fridge he'd installed beside it. My father would have been appalled he'd built custom bookshelves in that exact spot. I texted my assistant, "Need you to contact Morrison and Associates first thing Monday. Initial consultation for property dispute with documentation of hostile environment." Then I texted my grandmother, "You were right. I did need to see it with my own eyes." Her response came immediately, despite the late hour. "Your grandfather's lawyer will be at the memorial. Jonathan Morrison. He's expecting you." I smiled in the dark. Of course she'd already arranged it. The morning came too soon. I dressed carefully, black suit, concealer for the bruise, my father's West Point pin on my lapel. Mom was in the kitchen, pretending everything was normal. "Coffee," she offered. "No, thank you." "Claire, about last night." "We should leave soon. Don't want to be late." Rick appeared in the doorway, looking worse for wear. "What's all the noise?" "Getting ready for Dad's memorial," Mom said softly. "Right. The old man's dead party." He grabbed orange juice from the fridge, added a generous splash of vodka. "Count me out. Football's on." Mom's face crumbled slightly. "But Rick, you said—" "I said I'd think about it. I thought about it. Not going." I watched my mother shrink into herself, becoming smaller with each word. This was her life now, her choice. "We should go, Mom." The drive to the funeral home was silent. I parked, but Mom didn't move. "He's not usually like that," she said finally. "How often does he hit you?" "He doesn't—" She stopped. "He's under a lot of stress. Work has been slow. And the bills?" "The bills for the house you own, the house Dad left to you." Her face went pale. "It's complicated." "Actually, it's not." I pulled up the property records on my phone. "Did you know the house was transferred to joint ownership with Rick last year?" We're married. It made sense." "Did you read what you signed?" "Rick handled all that." "Of course he did." "Did he also handle selling Dad's tools? His coin collection, my grandmother's jewelry that was supposed to come to me?" Tears slipped down her cheeks. "How did you—" "I pay attention, Mom, even from New York." "You don't understand. Being alone, it's—" "I understand perfectly. You traded everything Dad built for the promise of not eating dinner by yourself." I softened slightly. "But Mom, you're not alone. You never were. You have family, friends. You had choices." "Easy for you to say. You left." "I left because there was nothing here for me. Because you made it clear Rick's comfort mattered more than your daughter's presence." We sat in silence, through the windshield. I watched other families arriving for the memorial. Normal families, functional families, families where fathers didn't hit daughters who came home. "I should tell you," I said finally. "I'm meeting with Grandpa's lawyer after the service." Her head snapped up. "Why?" "To discuss my options regarding Dad's estate, specifically the house." "Claire, no, please, it's all we have." "It's all Rick has. You had a daughter. You had a family home full of memories. You had Dad's legacy. You chose Rick instead. You can't— Actually, I can— My name is still on several documents. Documents that give me more rights than you think." I opened the car door. "I won't make a scene at Grandpa's memorial. But things are going to change. He'll never agree to—" "He doesn't have to agree. That's the beautiful thing about legal documentation." I stepped out, then leaned back in. "Coming, or should I tell everyone you're not feeling well?" She followed me into the funeral home. Silent and shaken. Good. It was time she understood how it felt to have your world shifted without your consent. Jonathan Morrison found me during the reception, a distinguished man in his 60s who'd known my grandfather for 40 years. "Claire, your grandmother said you might need my services." I handed him my phone, showing him the photos from last night and the documents I'd collected. His expression darkened as he scrolled through. "How soon can you move on this?" I asked. "Monday morning, first thing. Though technically," he smiled slightly, "we could file an emergency protective order today, given the assault." "No, I want this done right. By the book. Irrefutable." "Understood. Your grandfather always said you were the smart one in the family." He handed back my phone. I'll have my assistant send you a secure link for the rest of the documents. As we talked, I caught sight of Mom across the room, clutching her purse like a life preserver. She knew, could see the wheels turning, the careful plans falling into place. Rick thought he'd won by driving me away. He was about to learn why that was his biggest mistake. After the memorial, I drove Mom home in silence. Rick's truck was gone off to his usual Saturday afternoon haunt, the VFW hall where he'd drink and complain about immigrants taking American jobs, despite having never served a day in his life. I followed Mom inside, heading straight for what used to be my room. Started pulling boxes away from the walls. "What are you doing?" Mom hovered in the doorway. "Looking for something." I found the box labeled Claire's Junk and opened it. Empty, of course. Where are my things? What things? My art portfolio, the camera Grandpa gave me, my high school yearbooks. Mom fidgeted with her wedding ring. Rick had a garage sale last spring. We needed the money for his truck repairs. I kept my voice steady. He sold my belongings. They were just sitting here collecting dust. They were mine. I stood, brushing dust from my pants. Did he sell Dad's medals too? Her silence was answer enough. I walked past her to my father's old study. Rick's office now. The built-in shelves Dad had crafted by hand were gone, replaced with cheap particle board units from Walmart. Rick's diplomas hung where Dad's service photos once were. Associate degree in business management from an online college. Forklift operator certification. Nothing wrong with honest work. But Rick wore these papers like combat ribbons he'd never earned. The desk, my grandfather's desk that Dad had restored, was scarred with drink rings and cigarette burns. "Don't touch anything," Mom warned. "He doesn't like people in his space." His space. I pulled out my phone, started photographing everything. The damage to the desk, the holes in the walls where Dad's shelves had been, the water stains on the ceiling from whatever hack job Rick had done to the upstairs plumbing. "Stop that. What are you doing?" "Documenting the deterioration of my father's property." "It's not your father's anymore. It's ours. Mine and Rick's." I opened the desk drawer. Financial papers, carelessly stuffed inside. Mortgage statements showing missed payments. Credit card bills and collections. A notice from the county about unpaid property taxes. "Mom, you're 3 months behind on the mortgage." She paled. "Rick said he was handling it. With what money is he even working?" "He's between jobs. The economy has been booming for skilled workers. What's his excuse?" I photographed every document. Then I found the deed transfer from last year. Mom's signature was shaky, probably signed after a few glasses of wine. Rick's was bold, triumphant. But there, in the fine print, was what I'd been looking for. The section Rick clearly hadn't read. Subject to existing liens and claims as recorded in County Records Book 447, page 281. That was my co-signing agreement. Still valid, still binding. "Claire, please, whatever you're thinking." "I'm thinking Dad would be horrified to see what's become of his house. I'm thinking you let a parasite convince you that family history could be sold at garage sales and love could be bought with joint ownership." I closed the drawer. "I'm thinking it's time someone reminded Rick that this house has a history he can't just erase." A truck door slammed outside. Rick was home early. "Don't say anything," Mom begged. "Please, just get through dinner and leave tomorrow." "I'm not staying for dinner. I have a hotel reservation." Rick stumbled in, already 3 sheets to the wind. Well, still here. Thought you'd run back to New York already." "Just collecting some things." His bloodshot eyes narrowed. "From my office. Get the hell out of there." I stepped into the hallway. "Of course. Your office, your house, your rules." "Damn straight." He pushed past me, checking his desk. "You touch anything." "Just admiring the renovations. Interesting choice. Removing Dad's built-ins." "Those old things termites? Had to go," he smirked. "Like everything else in this house that's past its prime." I glanced at my mother. She looked away. "Speaking of past its prime," I said conversationally, "how's the job search going?" His face darkened. "None of your business." It is when you're living off my mother's Social Security and Dad's pension. Our money, what's hers is mine. That's how marriage works." He stepped closer, breath reeking. "Not that you'd know anything about that. What are you now? 35. No husband, no kids, just a lonely career woman who'll die alone with her money. 34, and I'd rather die alone than live with someone who sells my dead father's medals for beer money." The admission hung in the air. Mom gasped. Rick's face went from red to purple. "Those were mine to sell. Everything in this house is mine." "Really everything?" I pulled out my phone. Interesting perspective for someone who's been unemployed for 18 months now. "I work. When where show me a pay stub from the last year." He lunged forward. Mom stepped between us. "Stop it, both of you." "Get her out," Rick snarled. "Get her out of my house before you what?" "Hit me again in front of a witness this time." Mom's head snapped toward me. Again. "Ask your husband about last night. Ask him why I needed concealer for Grandpa's memorial." Rick's hands clenched into fists. "You lying little—" "I have photos, time-stamped, and a formal complaint ready to file." I looked him dead in the eye. "Touch me again. Please, make my lawyer's job easier." He stood there, swaying slightly, calculating whether his rage was worth the risk. Finally, he stomped back to his recliner. "Get out. Don't come back." "Oh, I'll be back." I picked up my purse. "With documentation you should have read more carefully." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Ask Mom about the co-signing agreement from 2009. Ask her about the conditional transfer clause. Better yet, ask a lawyer." I headed for the door. "You have about 72 hours before you'll need one." "You can't do anything. This is my house." I turned back one last time. "No, Rick, it's my father's house. You're just squatting in it. But don't worry, that's about to change." I left them there, Rick raging, Mom crying, the house that built me crumbling around them. Outside, I sat in my rental car and placed a call. "Morrison, it's Claire. I want to move forward immediately." The assault charges. Everything. The fraud. The illegal transfer. The breach of conditional ownership. Everything. That could get expensive and ugly. I thought of my father's medals in some pawn shop. My grandmother's jewelry sold for Rick's bar tabs. My childhood memories dismissed as junk and scattered to yard sale vultures. I can afford expensive and ugly. I started the engine. They haven't seen anything yet. The hotel room was clean, quiet, mine. I spread the documents across the bed. Building my case piece by piece, Mom had texted 6 times, alternating between pleas and accusations. I deleted them all. By midnight, I'd uploaded everything to Morrison's secure server. The original purchase agreement, the co-signing documents, the conditional transfer clause, the photos of Rick's assault, the financial records showing his systematic draining of Mom's assets. My phone rang. Unknown number. Local area code. "You think you're smart," Rick's slurred voice. "You think you can waltz in here and take what's mine. I think you should be discussing this with your attorney." "I don't need a damn attorney. I need you to understand something." His voice dropped, menacing. "This house is all we got. You take it. Your mother's on the street." "My mother has family, options, choices." I kept my voice calm. "What she doesn't have is a husband who respects her or her daughter's inheritance." "Inheritance, you walked away." "I left for college, for the military, for a career. That's not abandonment. That's growth." I stood, looking out at the lights of my hometown. "But you wouldn't understand that. Come near this house again. I'll be there Monday morning, with the sheriff, with legal documents, with every right to enter my father's property." I smiled. "Sleep tight. Rick, enjoy the recliner. It's got maybe 48 hours left in that spot." I hung up before he could respond. Then I blocked his number. Mom's number. Everyone except Morrison and my grandmother. Time to stop playing defense. Time to remind them both that the quiet girl who'd left for New York had learned more than just accounting. She'd learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic or violent. Sometimes it's just paperwork, properly filed. Sunday morning came with a clear head and a plan. I'd converted my hotel room into a war room laptop open. Documents sorted chronologically. Legal precedents bookmarked. My assistant in New York had worked overtime, pulling every record we could find. The discoveries kept mounting. Rick had taken out a home equity loan 2 years ago, forging Mom's signature. He'd sold mineral rights to the property that he didn't own. He'd even tried to use the house as collateral for a failed business venture, a bar that closed within 6 months. But the smoking gun was in the original papers from 2009. When I'd co-signed the mortgage after Dad died, helping Mom keep the house, we'd included a provision I'd insisted on at 19. Fresh from my first contract law class, the military service clause, if I was deployed or serving active duty, my interest in the property couldn't be altered without written consent. I'd served 4 years, never gave consent, never even knew Mom had tried to transfer the deed until this weekend. My phone buzzed. Jonathan Morrison. Claire, I've reviewed everything. You have grounds for immediate injunction, the illegal transfer, the forged signatures. The financial exploitation of your mother, Rick, could face criminal charges. How soon can we move? I can file first thing tomorrow. But Claire, are you prepared for what this means? Your mother will be caught in the middle. I thought of her closing her bedroom door while Rick hit me. She chose her side. Fair enough. One more thing, I pulled Rick's financials. He owes over $40,000 in gambling debts. That home equity loan, most of it went to covering markers at the casino. Of course it did. All the more reason to act fast, before he drains anything else. After the call, I opened my laptop and began typing. Not legal documents, those were Morrison's domain. This was different. An email to specific family members, the ones who mattered, Grandma's siblings, Dad's army buddies, the neighbors who'd watched me grow up. Subject: the truth about Rick Carlton. I laid it out simply. Factually, the assault, the theft of family heirlooms, the financial abuse, the degradation of my father's legacy. I attached photos, the bruise on my face, the destroyed built-ins, the garage sale listings for Dad's medals I'd found cached online. Send. Within an hour, my phone exploded. Dad's best friend, Tom, still lived 2 streets over. Claire, honey, why didn't you say something sooner? We had no idea. Mom was good at keeping secrets. Your dad would be rolling in his grave. You need backup when you go over there. I'll have the sheriff, but thank you. By afternoon, word had spread. Mom's sister called from Florida. Horrified. Dad's old squad leader promised to make some calls, see if the medals could be traced. The network of people who'd loved my father, who'd been pushed away by Rick's territorial behavior, suddenly reactivated. That evening, I sat in my hotel room finalizing strategies with Morrison when a knock came at the door. I checked the peephole, Mrs. Patterson, our former next-door neighbor. Claire, dear. She held a plate of cookies, just like when I was young. I heard you were in town. I invited her in. She sat on the edge of the bed, looking at my document fortress. I should have said something, she began. When I saw Rick selling your father's tools, your grandmother's china, but your mother begged me not to interfere. It wasn't your responsibility. Perhaps not, but I have something that might help. She pulled an envelope from her purse. Photos, from the garage sales. I thought, someone should document what was being lost. I opened the envelope. There they were. Dad's purple heart on a folding table marked $50. His tool chest, handmade by my grandfather, sitting in the driveway. My childhood paintings stacked like garbage. He told buyers they were from storage unit auctions. Mrs. Patterson continued, said the original owners had abandoned everything. I knew better, but thank you for this. I carefully placed the photos with my evidence. This helps more than you know. She stood to leave, then paused. Your mother came by last night. After you left, she was upset. I imagine so. She asked if I thought she'd made a mistake, marrying Rick. What did you tell her? Mrs. Patterson's expression hardened. I told her the mistake was letting him erase her first family for the comfort of not being alone. I told her Claire Matheson didn't raise a daughter who'd let someone steal her legacy without a fight. After she left, I sat in the gathering dusk, surrounded by evidence of Rick's systematic destruction. Tomorrow would begin the legal dismantling of his paper kingdom, but tonight I had one more task. I opened a new document and began typing. Property Recovery and Restoration Plan, 1247 Maple Street. Phase 1. Legal injunction to freeze all property transfers. Phase 2. Criminal complaint for fraud and forgery. Phase 3. Restoration of original ownership with protective provisions. Phase 4. Complete property restoration to David Matheson's specifications. At the bottom, I added a note, budget whatever it takes, time frame immediate. My phone rang, unknown number again. This time, I answered. You've turned the whole town against us. Mom's voice, shrill with panic. People are calling, texting. How could you? I told the truth. If that turned people against you, what does that say? Rick is furious. He's talking about suing you for defamation. Tell him to get in line. I'll be suing him for fraud first. Claire, please, we can work this out. Come to dinner. We'll talk like adults. Like we talked Friday night, when he hit me and you pretended not to see. Silence. Then, he was drunk. He didn't mean. He meant it, just like he meant to sell Dad's medals, just like he meant to forge your signature on loan documents. I let that sink in. Oh, you didn't know about the forgery. Check the home equity loan from 2022. Your signature looks nothing like your actual handwriting. That's impossible. Check for yourself, or don't. Morrison will subpoena the documents anyway. Why are you doing this? Because someone has to. Because Dad's memory deserves better. Because you deserve better, even if you can't see it. Rick is my husband. Rick is a parasite who saw a lonely widow with a paid-off house and a pension. He's not a husband. He's an opportunist who got lucky. She hung up on me. Progress, in a way. At least she was angry instead of making excuses. I spent the rest of the evening on the phone with contractors, getting estimates for restoration work. The built-ins could be recreated from photos. The hardwood floors could be refinished. The house could be saved. The family that had lived in it was another matter. But that wasn't my problem to solve. My job was simple: reclaim what was mine, restore what was destroyed, and ensure Rick Carlton learned exactly what happened when you tried to erase a military family's legacy. He thought he'd won by driving me away. Tomorrow, he'd learn he'd simply given me room to build up speed. Monday morning arrived with the kind of crisp clarity that promised change. I met Morrison at his office at 7:30 a.m., dressed in my sharpest suit, the one I wore for hostile takeover meetings in Manhattan. Ready, he asked, sliding the filed documents across his desk. I've been ready since I was 19 and watched Mom cry over bills while Dad's life insurance went to keep our house. Morrison smiled. Your grandfather would be proud. He always said you had steel in your spine. By 8:45 we sat in the courthouse, waiting for Judge Harrison to review our emergency injunction. Morrison had fast-tracked everything, calling in favors from 30 years of practice. Miss Matheson, Judge Harrison peered over his reading glasses. These are serious allegations: fraud, forgery, elder financial abuse. Every claim is documented, Your Honor. Morrison handed over our evidence binder. The defendant systematically liquidated assets belonging to the estate, forged signatures on loan documents, and physically assaulted my client when she attempted to retrieve personal property. The judge flipped through the photos: my bruised face, the forged signatures, the bank statements showing Rick's casino withdrawals using Mom's accounts. Injunction granted. All property transfers are frozen pending full review. Mr. Carlton is prohibited from selling, removing, or destroying any items from the residence. He looked at me. Miss Matheson, you're granted immediate access to the property to secure and document all remaining assets. Your Honor, Morrison added, we're also filing criminal charges. The district attorney is expecting our documentation this afternoon. Noted. Sheriff's Department will be notified to provide escort if needed. Judge Harrison signed the order. Good luck. Miss Matheson. We drove to the sheriff's office next. Sheriff Williams, who'd known my father, read the injunction carefully. Rick's not going to take this well, he warned. That's why we need escort, Morrison replied. You'll have it, Deputy Chen. He caught himself. Deputy Martinez will accompany you when... Now, I said, before Rick has time to destroy anything else. The drive to Maple Street felt different with a sheriff's cruiser behind us. Neighbors came out to watch. Mrs. Patterson gave me a small wave from her garden. Rick's truck was in the driveway. Perfect. Deputy Martinez knocked. I heard scrambling inside, muffled arguing. Finally, Mom opened the door, eyes red and puffy. Ma'am, Martinez showed his badge. We have a court order requiring access to the property. Rick appeared behind her, face purple with rage. Get off my property. Sir, I need you to step back. Martinez moved between us. Miss Matheson has legal right to enter. The hell she does. Morrison handed Rick the injunction. Page 3 details the frozen assets. Page 5 lists the criminal charges being filed. You'll want to contact an attorney. I walked past them into the house, Martinez following, started in the living room, photographing everything. Rick shadowed us, spitting venom. You think you're smart. You think you can just take everything. I'm not taking anything, I replied, opening the closet where Dad's military footlocker used to sit. Empty. I'm documenting what you already took. That junk sold it years ago. Got good money, too. Martinez stepped forward. Sir, you might want to stop talking. Anything you say. I know my rights, Rick snarled. This is my house, my property. That footlocker was mine to sell. Actually, I pulled out my phone, showing a photo. That footlocker belonged to Sergeant First Class David Matheson. His will specifically left it to me. You just confessed to stealing and selling stolen property. Rick's face cycled through several shades of red. Your mother agreed. My mother didn't own it to agree. I moved systematically through the house, Martinez keeping Rick at bay. In the basement, I found boxes labeled Claire's room empty. In the garage, the pegboard where Dad had organized his tools bare. But in Rick's office, locked in a filing cabinet he'd thought was secure, I found receipts, pawn shop slips, consignment records, a paper trail of every family heirloom he'd sold. He'd kept records for tax purposes, never imagining they'd become evidence against him. Jackpot, Morrison murmured, photographing each receipt. Those are private, Rick lunged forward. Martinez caught him. Sir, I need you to calm down or I'll have to restrain you. In my own house. This house, I said quietly, is subject to legal review. Your ownership is now in question. That's when Rick snapped. You little bitch. You abandoned this family. You left your mother alone. I stepped up. I took care of her. You drained her accounts. You sold her memories. You isolated her from family. I stayed calm, knowing Martinez's body cam was recording. You're not a caretaker. You're a predator. He struggled against Martinez's grip. Get out. Get out. Sir, you're under arrest for assault. Martinez efficiently cuffed him as Rick erupted in profanity. You have the right to remain silent. Mom stood frozen in the doorway, watching her husband being led away. Claire, how could you... How could I not? I pulled out the forged loan documents. Did you know he's been signing your name, taking loans against the house? She sank into a chair, my grandmother's chair that had somehow survived Rick's purge. No. The house is 3 months behind on mortgage payments. The property taxes are overdue. Where did you think the money was going? He said he was investing for our future. In what poker chips? Morrison stepped forward. Mrs. Carlton, you should know that as a victim of financial fraud, you have options. The criminal charges against your husband don't have to include you, if you cooperate. She looked between us, lost. I don't understand any of this. I sat across from her. Rick has been stealing from you, from us, from Dad's memory. He's taken out loans you didn't authorize, sold property that wasn't his, and put this house, Dad's house, at risk of foreclosure. But he loves me. He loves what you had. There's a difference. Tears rolled down her cheeks. What am I supposed to do now? First, you get a lawyer, not Rick's buddy from the bar, a real lawyer. Second, you separate your finances immediately. Third, I hesitated, then pulled out a folder. You sign this. What is it? Paperwork to restore the house to its original ownership structure, with protections to prevent this from happening again. I set it in front of her. It gives you lifetime residency rights, but prevents anyone, including future husbands, from leveraging it for loans or selling it without court approval. You're taking my house. I'm saving Dad's house. There's a difference. She stared at the papers. And if I don't sign, then Morrison files the full lawsuit, criminal and civil charges. The house goes into foreclosure while we fight in court. You lose everything anyway, just more publicly. You'd do that to your own mother. You did it to yourself the day you let Rick sell my father's Purple Heart. That broke something in her. She crumpled, sobbing. I felt no sympathy. She'd stood by while Rick dismantled our family legacy. Piece by piece, she'd chosen comfort over conscience. Where will Rick go? Jail, initially, then wherever men go when their meal tickets realize they're parasites. I stood. You have 48 hours to decide. Sign the papers, or we go to trial. I left her there, crying in my grandmother's chair, and went to the garage, in the corner, covered by a tarp. I found the one thing Rick hadn't sold, Dad's workbench, too heavy to move easily, too built in to remove without destroying it. I ran my hand over the scarred wood, remembering Dad teaching me to use a level, to measure twice and cut once, to build things that last. I'm fixing it, Dad, I whispered. All of it. Morrison appeared in the doorway. Rick's been booked. Assault, fraud, forgery, bail hearing tomorrow. Good. What's next? We file the civil suit, demand full accounting of all sold assets, freeze any remaining accounts. He paused. Your mother. She'll sign. She has no choice. This is hard, what you're doing, but necessary. I thought of my apartment in New York, my simple life there. I know what everyone will say, that I'm the cold daughter who destroyed her mother's marriage, the villain in their small-town drama. And what will you say? I looked around the empty garage, once filled with tools and dreams and a father's love. That I'm the daughter who came home. Tuesday morning brought Rick's counterattack. I was reviewing contractor bids in my hotel room when Morrison called. He's hired Bradley Simmons, Morrison said. Local attorney, known for aggressive tactics. Any good? Good enough to be annoying. He's already called 3 times this morning, demanding we drop all charges. Says you're conducting a vindictive campaign against a loving stepfather. I laughed. Loving he sold my dead father's medals. About that Tom Rodriguez called, your dad's army buddy. He traced the Purple Heart to a pawn shop in Columbus, bought it back. He's driving down today to return it. My throat tightened. How much did he pay? He won't say. Just said some things aren't about money. By noon, Rick was out on bail. His first stop was Mom's workplace, the elementary school where she'd been a secretary for 15 years. I heard about it from the principal, Mrs. Davies, who called me directly. Claire, I'm concerned. Rick showed up during lunch, making a scene, yelling about ungrateful daughters and stolen property. I had to have security escort him out. I'm sorry you got dragged into this. Don't apologize. Your mother needs help, whether she admits it or not. I've watched her fade these past 3 years. Rick's not good for her. Did she leave with him? No, she's still here, hiding in my office. She asked me to call you. I found Mom in the principal's office, looking smaller than ever. Her coworkers had witnessed Rick's meltdown, saw the man behind the charm. The mask was finally off. He's never done that before, she said quietly. Embarrassed me at work. He's desperate. Desperate people do desperate things. His lawyer says you're lying, that the signatures aren't forged, that you abandoned any claim to the house when you left for college. His lawyer is wrong. I sat beside her. Mom, I need you to look at these. I spread out the loan documents, put her genuine signature next to the forged ones. Even she could see the difference. I didn't sign these, she whispered. I know. He told me we needed the money for repairs, for medical bills. I gave him my PIN, told him to handle it. She studied the withdrawal records. $40,000. Where did it go? Golden Nugget Casino, Riverside Racetrack, various sports betting sites. I showed her Rick's credit report Morrison had subpoenaed. He owes money to some very unfriendly people. Oh, God, she covered her mouth. He said he'd stopped gambling. When did he ever start? Before we met, his first wife left him over it, but he swore he was done, that I'd saved him. She laughed bitterly. I guess I was just a new line of credit. Sign the papers, Mom. Protect what's left. She was reaching for the pen when the door burst open. Rick stood there, wild-eyed, reeking of bourbon at 2 p.m. Don't you sign anything. He pointed at me. She's trying to steal everything we built. You built nothing. I stood, putting myself between them. You demolished. You sold. You stole. I maintained that house, I improved it. You destroyed Dad's handiwork and replaced it with particle board. You turned a family home into a flophouse. Mrs. Davies appeared with security. Mr. Carlton, you need to leave. Now. I'm talking to my wife. Your wife is my employee, and this is my school. Leave, or I call the police. Rick's face twisted. This is all your fault, he snarled at me. You turned everyone against me. Well, I've got news for you, princess. Your daddy isn't the saint you think he was. What's that supposed to mean? Ask your mother about 2008. Ask her why he was really deployed so often, he smirked. Better yet, ask her about Sergeant Katie Williams. Mom went white. Rick, don't. Oh, now you want to protect his memory? Where was that protection when your daughter was destroying our life? Security moved in, but I held up a hand. No, let him talk. What about Katie Williams? Your precious father had a wandering eye. Why do you think your parents were in counseling before he died? Why do you think... Shut up. Mom stood, shaking. Just shut up. David made mistakes. Yes, we worked through them. He came home. He chose his family. That's what real men do. They face their failures and fix them. She looked Rick dead in the eye. You just blame everyone else. Rick's smirk faltered. Lydia. Get out. Don't come home. Don't call me. We're done. You don't mean that. She grabbed the papers from my hand, signed them with sharp, angry strokes. There, done. The house is Claire's. You get nothing. That's not legal. I have rights. You have the right to remain silent, Deputy Martinez said from the doorway. Mrs. Davies had called the police after all. Violating a restraining order. Mr. Carlton. Your bail specifically stated no contact with Mrs. Carlton at her place of employment. I hadn't known about the restraining order. Mom had filed it herself, apparently. First smart thing she'd done in years. As they led Rick away again, he shouted over his shoulder, This isn't over. I'll burn that house down before I let you take it. Martinez paused. Sir, did you just threaten arson in front of witnesses? Even Rick wasn't drunk enough to repeat it. They hauled him away, his threats echoing down the hallway. Mom sank back into her chair. Is it true about Dad? I chose my words carefully. Does it matter? He's been gone 11 years. You've spent 3 of those years letting Rick destroy his memory. Whatever mistakes Dad made, he didn't deserve that. I was so lonely. She started crying again. You left, and the house was so quiet, and Rick seemed so kind at first. Con men always do. What happens now? Now you file for divorce. You get counseling. You remember who you were before Rick convinced you that you were nothing without a man. I gathered the signed papers, and you let me fix what he broke. Where will I live? In the house. Read the papers. You have lifetime residency. I'm not Rick. I don't throw family on the street. I paused at the door. But Mom? The next time you let a man hit your daughter, you're on your own. That evening, Tom Rodriguez arrived with a small wooden box. Inside, cushioned in velvet, lay Dad's Purple Heart. Pawn shop owner remembered it, Tom said. Felt bad about buying it once he learned the story. Only charged me what he paid Rick. How much? $50. Rick sold your father's Purple Heart for $50. I held the medal, remembering Dad showing it to me when I was young, explaining how he'd earned it, why he'd served, all that honor, all that sacrifice, reduced to drink money. Thank you for bringing it home. Your dad saved my life in Fallujah. Least I could do. Tom studied me. You look like him, same determination, same steel. He never backed down from a fight that mattered. Neither do you. Apparently, he smiled. Rick's got no idea what he started. Does he? He's about to learn. That night, I sat in my hotel room, Dad's Purple Heart on the desk beside my laptop. I'd won the first battle papers signed. Rick in jail, house protected. But the war wasn't over. Rick would make bail again, would find new lawyers, would keep fighting. But so would I. I opened a new email to my team in New York. Extending my leave. Family situation requires additional attention. Will work remotely as needed. My assistant responded immediately. Whatever you need, Claire, we've got you covered. I smiled. Rick thought he was fighting one woman with daddy issues. He had no idea I commanded resources he couldn't imagine, connections he'd never have, and a will forged in military discipline and corporate warfare. He'd stolen from the wrong family. And I was just getting started. Wednesday morning, Morrison called with news. The bank approved the freeze. They've also agreed to reverse the fraudulent loan pending investigation. Your documentation was bulletproof. And Rick made bail again, but with strict conditions, GPS monitor, no alcohol, definitely no contact with you or your mother. His assets, what little he has, are frozen too. I stood in the driveway of 1247 Maple Street, contractors' trucks lined up behind me. The locksmith had just finished new locks, new security system, every access point secured. Where do you want to start? Asked James, the lead contractor. His grandfather had served with Dad. The living room. I want those built-ins recreated exactly as they were. He studied the old photos I'd collected. Beautiful work. Your dad did this himself. Every cut, every joint, Rick tore them out claiming termites. Termites, James snorted. I checked during the walkthrough. No termite damage anywhere, just crowbar marks. We went room by room. The hardwood floors needed complete refinishing. Rick's neglect had left water stains and scratches everywhere. The kitchen cabinets Dad had refurbished were barely hanging on. Hardware missing. Doors askew. 3 weeks, James estimated. Maybe 4 to do it right. Do it right. This house deserves it. My phone buzzed. Bradley Simmons, Rick's lawyer. Miss Matheson, I'm calling to discuss a settlement. I'm listening. My client is willing to vacate all claims to the property in exchange for $50,000 and drop charges. I laughed. Your client stole more than that in sold assets alone. Counteroffer, he vacates all claims in exchange for me not pursuing additional criminal charges for the threats he made yesterday. Those alleged threats were recorded by school security cameras and witnessed by 6 people, including a sheriff's deputy. Would you like me to send you the footage? Silence. Then, I'll consult with my client. Mom arrived as I was directing furniture removal. She looked lost seeing the house transformed into a construction zone. I packed some things, she said quietly, holding a suitcase. Thought I'd stay with my sister for a while. You don't have to leave. The master bedroom won't be touched for another week. I can't stay here right now. Too many memories, good and bad. I understood. Take your time. The house will be here when you're ready. She paused at her car. Claire, what Rick said yesterday about your father, I don't need to know. But, Mom, whatever happened between you and Dad, you worked it out. You stayed together. You built a life. I gestured at the house. This is what matters. What he left us, what we preserve. She nodded, tears threatening again. I'm sorry. For everything. I know. After she left, I went to the basement. Rick had used it for storage boxes of junk, broken appliances, cases of empty beer bottles. But in the corner, behind a moldy couch, I found something he'd missed. Dad's workbench tools weren't all sold. A few had fallen behind the bench, wedged in a gap, his favorite hammer, a level with his initials carved in the handle, a leather tool belt, cracked with age but whole. I sat on the basement steps, holding that hammer, and finally let myself cry for what was lost, what was saved, what could never be recovered. My phone rang. Tom Rodriguez again. Claire, you might want to see the news. Channel 6. I pulled up the stream. Rick, standing outside the courthouse, talking to reporters. Already violating his bail conditions by drinking, the reporter didn't seem to notice the flask in his pocket. But I did. This is a vendetta, he slurred. A bitter daughter trying to destroy her mother's happiness. I gave that woman the best years of my life, and this is how her family repays me. The reporter asked about the fraud charges. Lies. All lies. I never forged anything. Lydia gave me permission for everything. We were married. What's hers was mine. I started recording. More evidence. Rick couldn't help himself, the narcissist's curse. And another thing, Rick continued, warming to his audience. That house was falling apart when I moved in. I fixed it up. New office, new garage set up. Got rid of all that old junk cluttering the place. By junk, you mean family heirlooms, the reporter pressed. Bunch of military garbage and kid drawings. Who keeps that stuff? I made space for real life, not some shrine to a dead man. I saved the recording and forwarded it to Morrison. More documentation of admitted theft and property destruction. Also, public intoxication while on bail. Morrison responded immediately. His lawyer must be having a heart attack. This violates every bail condition. By evening, Rick was back in custody. This time, the judge revoked bail entirely. Rick would await trial from a cell, where he couldn't intimidate witnesses or destroy evidence. I celebrated by ripping out the Confederate flag shower curtain in the bathroom and burning it in the backyard fire pit. The neighbors watched from their windows, understanding the symbolism. Rick's mark on the house was being erased, piece by piece. That night, I slept in the house for the first time in 11 years, on an air mattress in my old room, surrounded by construction equipment and the smell of sawdust. It felt more like home than it had since Dad died. My phone lit up with emails, work questions from New York, easily handled remotely, but also messages from family, from Dad's army friends, from people I hadn't heard from in years. Word had spread beyond our small town. Rick had awakened something he didn't understand. Military families protect their own. A text from an unknown number. This is Katie Williams. I heard about what you're doing. Your dad would be proud. If you need character witnesses for the trial, I'm available. So Rick's big revelation about Dad's wandering eye had reached her, and instead of hiding, she was offering support. That took courage. I texted back. Thank you. I'll keep that in mind. Another text, this one from Mom. Saw the news. Rick looked pathetic. Maybe I've been pathetic too. Believing him all this time. Your dad never looked pathetic, even at his worst. I forgot what real strength looked like until I saw you stand up to Rick. Thank you for reminding me. I didn't respond. Wasn't ready for that conversation yet. Instead, I walked through the house with a notepad, planning the restoration. The living room built-ins would mirror Dad's original design, but with modern touches, hidden outlets, LED lighting. The floors would gleam again. The kitchen would honor his craftsmanship while updating for efficiency. This house would be better than before, not a shrine, but a living testament to what one man built and what his daughter refused to let another man destroy. Rick thought he'd won when he drove me away at 18. Newly graduated and eager to escape. He thought distance meant defeat. Silence meant surrender. He was wrong. I'd spent 11 years becoming someone he never expected: educated, connected, financially secure, and absolutely ruthless when protecting what mattered. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Contractors would strip away the damage, restore the bones of the house. The legal system would strip away Rick's false claims, restore justice. And I would watch it all happen from Dad's workshop, using his recovered tools to help rebuild what Rick had torn down. Piece by piece, board by board, until every trace of Rick Carlton was gone and the house stood proud again. Just like its owner. Thursday morning brought chaos. I woke to pounding on the door at 6 a.m. Through the new security system monitor, I saw Rick's brother Dale and 2 other men I didn't recognize. "Open up," Dale shouted. "We're getting Rick's stuff." I called 911, then Morrison. Stayed inside, recording everything through the window. "This is breaking and entering," I called through the door. "Rick has no legal claim to this property. His tools are in that garage. His clothes are in that house." Dale kicked the door. "You can't steal a man's belongings. Check the court documents. Any personal items will be returned through legal channels." The 2 men with Dale started circling the house, testing windows. I tracked them on the security monitors, narrating for the recording. 2 unidentified males attempting unauthorized entry, east side window, now moving to back door. Police arrived within minutes. Dale tried to explain they were just collecting Rick's things. The officers weren't buying it. "Ma'am," Officer Reynolds addressed me, "do these men have permission to be on your property?" "Absolutely not. There's a court order freezing all assets inside this house pending legal review." Dale exploded. "That's my brother's home. He built that garage. Sir, step back." Reynolds' hand moved to his taser. "Do you have any proof of ownership? Ask her for proof she abandoned this place." I held up the deed. "Property transferred back to my name 3 days ago. Signed, notarized, filed with the county." They arrested Dale for trespassing and attempted breaking and entering. The other 2 men scattered before they could be identified. I added more cameras to my security upgrade list. Morrison called an hour later. "Rick's really desperate now. His brother's arrest just made the local news." "Good. Let everyone see what happens when you try to intimidate me." "Bradley Simmons wants another meeting. Says Rick's ready to negotiate." From jail. Apparently, reality is setting in. He's looking at serious time fraud, forgery, assault, violating bail. Simmons is pushing for a deal. "Set the meeting, but I'm not backing down." The contractors arrived at 8 and work resumed. James pulled me aside around noon. Found something interesting. He led me to the basement wall they'd opened up. "Your dad built a hidden compartment here. Look." Behind the drywall was a metal box. Inside, wrapped in plastic, his service records, commendations, photos from deployment, and a letter addressed to me. My hands shook as I opened it. "Claire Bear, if you're reading this, something's happened to me. I'm writing this before my last deployment. There are things I need you to know. First, I'm proud of you. Always have been. You're stronger than you know, smarter than you believe. Second, the house. I've set up protections. Your name is on documents your mother doesn't know about. If anything happens to me, don't let anyone take this house from her, or from you. It's more than wood and nails. It's our history. Third, people will tell you I wasn't perfect. They're right. I made mistakes, hurt people I loved, but I never stopped loving this family, never stopped fighting to make things right. Take care of your mother. She's stronger than she seems, but she needs reminding sometimes. Stay tough, soldier, love, Dad." I sat on the basement steps, reading it 3 times. He'd known. Somehow, he'd known to protect the house, protect us, even from beyond the grave. He was still fighting our battles. "You okay?" James asked gently. Yeah. I folded the letter carefully. "My dad really thought of everything. Good man. Shame what happened to this place after." He gestured at the compartment. "Want me to seal it back up?" "No. Frame it out. Put in a door. Make it a proper storage space. but mark it somehow, this was his. The meeting with Simmons happened that afternoon at Morrison's office. The man looked exhausted. My client is prepared to sign away all claims to the property, he began. In exchange, you drop all criminal charges. No. Miss Matheson, be reasonable. He's already lost everything. He stole everything first. From my mother, from me, from my father's memory. I slid photos across the table, the pawn shop receipts, the forged documents, my bruised face. Your client is a thief, a forger, and a batterer. He faces consequences. What do you want? Full confession, detailed accounting of every item sold, every penny stolen, restitution to my mother for the fraudulent loans, and he serves whatever time the court deems fit. That's not a negotiation. That's surrender. Morrison leaned forward. Your client threatened arson on camera. His brother just got arrested trying to break into the house. Rick's got no cards left to play. Simmons sighed. I'll present your terms. But Miss Matheson, this vindictiveness won't bring your father back. No, I agreed, but it'll ensure his house stays in the hands of someone who actually loved him. That evening, I got unexpected visitors. 3 of Rick's drinking buddies from the VFW, all actual veterans. Unlike Rick. Ma'am, the eldest, Bernie, removed his cap. We wanted to apologize. We didn't know Rick was selling your dad's service items. If we'd known. He told us they were his, another added. Said he'd served in Gulf War. We believed him. I invited them in. Showed them Dad's actual service records James had found. Son of a bitch, Bernie muttered. Stolen valor on top of everything else. Did he sell anything to you? Any of Dad's items? They exchanged glances. I bought a knife, one admitted. Combat knife. He said it was from his tour. K-bar black handle. 7-inch blade. That's the one. That was my dad's, from Iraq. Without hesitation, he pulled it from his belt. It's yours. Should never have left your family. One by one, they returned items: a compass, a field jacket, a canteen. Each had a story Rick had fabricated. Each was actually Dad's. We'll testify, Bernie offered. Whatever you need. Your dad was a real soldier. What Rick did, it's disgraceful. After they left, I sat in the gutted living room, surrounded by recovered pieces of my father's life. The house echoed with construction sounds, hammering, sawing, rebuilding. Each nail driven was a small victory. Each board placed a step toward restoration. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Saw Dale on the news. I'm so sorry. I brought these people into our lives. I typed back, you were lonely. Rick was a predator. Predators target the vulnerable. It's not your fault you were human. Your dad would have seen through him immediately. Dad's not here. You did the best you could. Did I let him sell your father's medals? I let him hit you. You signed the papers. You filed for divorce. You're doing the right thing now. That matters. A long pause. Then, can I come by tomorrow? I want to help. Even if it's just cleaning or painting. I need to do something. Okay. It was a start. Not forgiveness that would take time, but a beginning. Morrison called with a final update. Simmons just confirmed. Rick will take the deal. Full confession, detailed accounting, restitution. He'll plead to all charges. How much time? With the assault, fraud, and stolen valor, 5 to 7 years, minimum. I thought of Rick in a cell for the next several years. No beer, no gambling, no women to con. Good. The house is officially yours, free and clear, no liens, no claims, no challenges. Thank you, Jonathan, for everything. Your grandfather would be dancing. He always said you'd come back someday. Set things right. That night, I walked through the house one more time. Tomorrow. Mom would come help. The contractors would continue their work. Rick would face a judge. But tonight, it was just me and the bones of the house Dad built. Our house, our history, our future. Rick had thought he could erase us, replace us, claim what was never his. He'd learned the hard way that Mathesons don't go down without a fight. And we always come home. Friday morning arrived with Mom at the door, holding cleaning supplies and wearing old jeans I remembered from high school. "Where do I start?" she asked simply. I handed her safety glasses. Kitchen cabinets. We're stripping the old paint, going back to the original wood. We worked in companionable silence for the first hour. The contractors gave us space. Understanding this was more than renovation, it was reclamation. "I found your baby pictures," Mom said suddenly, scrubbing at decades of grime. "Rick had boxed them up for the garbage. They're in my car." Why would he throw away baby pictures? He said I was living in the past, that I needed to move forward. She attacked a stubborn stain. Moving forward apparently meant erasing everything from before him. Classic abuser tactic: isolate the victim from their history. Mom flinched. "I wasn't abused. He only hit you, not me." Physical violence is just one type of abuse. He isolated you from family, controlled the finances, sold your belongings, destroyed your memories. I moved to the cabinet beside her. "When did you last see Aunt Jennifer?" 2 years ago, Rick said she was toxic, always criticizing him. "When did you last have lunch with your book club?" Rick thought they were gossips. "When did you last make a decision without checking with Rick first?" She stopped scrubbing. Point made. We worked through lunch, the pile of restored wood growing. Around 2 p.m., Morrison called. Rick took the deal, just finished in court. He gave us everything, every sale, every forged document, every stolen penny. The casino debts were worse than we thought. He owes almost $60,000 to various creditors. Let me guess, he expected the house sale to cover it. Exactly. He was days away from trying to force a sale when you arrived. Your timing was perfect. What's the restitution? $48,000 to your mother for the fraudulent loans, $12,000 to you for documented stolen property. He'll be on a payment plan for the next 20 years. From prison. And after, the judge was unsympathetic. 7 years. No parole for the first 3. Plus Dale got 6 months for the attempted break-in. I relayed the news to Mom. She sank onto a paint bucket. Processing. 7 years. He'll be almost 60 when he gets out. With a felony record and massive debt, his con artist days are over. I'll be retired by then. She looked around the half-demolished kitchen, living in a house that doesn't even remember him. That's the plan. James appeared in the doorway. "Claire found something else you should see." He led us to the master bedroom where they'd pulled up the carpet. Underneath, carved into the original hardwood, were initials and a date, DM plus LH 1995. Mom gasped. "Our wedding year. David carved this right after we moved in." She traced the letters. Rick insisted on carpet, said hardwood was too cold. I never argued. "Now you know why he really wanted it covered," I said quietly. That afternoon, more people stopped by. Teachers from Mom's school with casseroles. Dad's veteran friends offering labor. Mrs. Patterson with a photo album she'd been keeping safe pictures of the house through the years, documenting what Rick had destroyed. "Evidence," she said with satisfaction, "in case you need it for insurance claims." By evening, the kitchen was stripped to its bones, ready for restoration. Mom and I sat on the porch, exhausted but oddly peaceful. "Your father built these steps," she said, running her hand over the wood. "I was pregnant with you, worried about everything. He said a strong foundation was the most important thing for houses and families." He was right. I forgot that. Let Rick tear up the foundation because I was scared of being alone. She looked at me. "How did you get so strong? Living alone in New York, building your career, standing up to Rick." "I learned from Dad, but also from you." "Me?" She laughed bitterly. "I'm the weakness in this story. You survived 3 years with Rick. You worked every day despite living with an emotional terrorist. You finally stood up to him, filed for divorce, signed those papers." I met her eyes. "You're stronger than you think. You just forgot for a while." A car pulled up. Katie Williams stepped out, holding a box. Mom stiffened. "What is she doing here?" I asked her to come. I stood. We're restoring everything Rick tried to bury. That includes the truth. Katie approached carefully. Lydia, it's been a long time. 12 years, Mom said coolly. I have some things that belong to your family. Katie set the box on the porch. David gave these to me for safekeeping during his last deployment. He was worried about what eventually happened. Inside were Dad's personal effects from deployment journals, photos, a watch I remembered him wearing. Why did he give them to you? Mom's voice was strained. Katie met her eyes steadily. Because I was his communications sergeant. Because he trusted me. And yes, because we were friends, close friends, but nothing more, despite what rumors said. Rick lied, I interrupted, just like he lied about everything else. Katie pulled out a sealed envelope. David wrote this for you, Lydia. Asked me to deliver it if anything happened. I couldn't, after he died. You were so angry. I thought it would hurt more than help. But now... Mom took the letter with shaking hands. Read it silently, tears streaming. Without warning, she stood and hugged Katie. Thank you, she whispered, for being his friend, for keeping these safe, for bringing them home. Katie hugged her back, both women crying now. He loved you so much, talked about you and Claire constantly. Whatever rough patches you went through, he never wavered. You were his world. After Katie left, Mom showed me the letter, Dad's handwriting, his voice echoing through the years. Lie, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I need you to know you were the best thing that ever happened to me. Yes, we had problems. Yes, I was difficult. But every morning in this desert, I wake up grateful for you, for Claire, for the life we built. Take care of our girl. Take care of yourself. Don't let anyone diminish what we had. And please, forgive Katie. She's a good soldier and a better friend. She helped me become the man you deserved. All my love, always, David. Rick saw the pictures of Dad with his unit, saw Katie, and created a whole narrative. Mom said, I let him poison my memories. That's over now. She folded the letter carefully. Can I help again tomorrow? Every day until it's done, if you want. That night, I made a list of what we'd recovered. Dad's Purple Heart, combat knife, compass, canteen, field jacket, service records and photos, personal journals, the letter for Mom, the truth about Dad and Katie, Mom's dignity, our family home. Not everything could be recovered. The sold medals, the destroyed furniture, the 3 years of Mom's life wasted on Rick, but what we'd saved was enough to rebuild on. Tomorrow, the contractors would start on the built-ins, recreating Dad's handiwork. Mom would help strip wallpaper in the dining room. Morrison would file the insurance claims for the destroyed property. And somewhere in a county jail, Rick Carlton would spend his first night understanding that his war against the Matheson family was over. He'd lost. We'd won. Not because we were vindictive or cruel, but because we were something Rick never understood: a real family. Broken, maybe scarred, definitely, but ultimately unbreakable. The house stood quiet in the darkness, waiting for tomorrow's hammers and saws, waiting to be whole again, just like us. 2 weeks later, the transformation was nearly complete. The built-ins stood proud again, crafted by James with the same care Dad had used decades ago. The hardwood floors gleamed, revealing grain patterns hidden for years under Rick's neglect. The kitchen cabinets, stripped and restained, looked better than when Dad first installed them. I stood in the living room with my laptop, finishing a work presentation. My New York life hadn't stopped, I just relocated it temporarily. My team understood. Family comes first. Claire, Mom called from upstairs. Come see this. She stood in my old room, pointing at the freshly painted wall. Remember when you drew that mural age 7? Purple dragons everywhere. You let me paint on the walls. Dad said it showed creative spirit. Rick painted over it the first month he moved in. She smiled. Want to do another one? I'm 34, Mom. So the room's yours. Make it yours again? That evening, we had dinner in the restored dining room, actual dinner, at the table Dad built. Not takeout on the couch like Rick preferred. Mom had really cooked for the first time in years. I forgot I enjoyed this, she said, serving pot roast. Rick only wanted frozen dinners or bar food. You're remembering who you were before him. I'm trying, she paused. I got a call today, from the school board. They want me to apply for the head secretary position. More money, better hours. That's wonderful. You'll be great at it. Rick always said I wasn't smart enough for promotion. Rick's in prison. His opinions are irrelevant. We ate in comfortable silence, the house settling around us with contented creaks. No angry voices, no slamming doors, no walking on eggshells. After dinner, I showed her my plans. I'm keeping the house but returning to New York next week. I'll hire a property management company, rent it out to a nice family. The income will supplement your retirement. You're not staying. My life is in New York, my career, my apartment, my future. I touched her hand. But I'll visit, real visits, not 11-year absences. I understand. And Claire, thank you, for everything, for coming home when I needed you, for fighting when I couldn't, for saving Dad's house. Our house, I corrected, always our house. Morrison called the next morning with final updates. Restitution checks are processing. First payment should hit next month. Also, the DA added stolen valor charges. Rick's looking at another year. Good. And Claire, I traced 3 of your dad's medals through military collectors. They're willing to sell them back at cost. Whatever it takes, Dad earned those medals. They belong with family. The last day of renovations, the whole crew gathered for a final walkthrough. James had outdone himself, every detail perfect, every surface restored with love and skill. Your dad would be proud, he said, running his hand over the built-ins. It's like he never left. That afternoon, I sat on the porch steps. Dad's steps with my laptop, typing. Property management agreement, 1247 Maple Street. Monthly rent to be deposited directly to Lydia Matheson's account. Property to be maintained to David Matheson, memorial standards, long-term tenants preferred. Must respect historic nature of home. Claire Matheson retains right of first refusal for any future sale. My phone rang, a New York number. Claire, it's Patterson from the Senior Partners. We've reviewed your remote work this month. Exceptional as always. In fact, we'd like to discuss the new Midwest Territory Manager position. You could work from anywhere, travel as needed. I looked at the house, at Mom watering the restored garden, at the street where I'd learned to ride a bike. I'm interested. Let's talk Monday. That evening, neighbors gathered for an impromptu celebration. Mrs. Patterson brought a cake decorated like the house. Dad's army buddies raised beers to his memory. Mom smiled more than she had in 3 years. Speech, someone called out. I stood on the porch, looking at the faces that had shaped my childhood, supported our fight, welcomed me home. 3 weeks ago, I came back for a funeral and found a war zone. Today, we're standing in front of my father's restored legacy. This house isn't just wood and nails. It's proof that some things can't be stolen, can't be destroyed, can't be erased by con artists or cowards. Cheers and applause. Rick's Carlton thought he could rewrite our family's history. He thought distance meant defeat. Silence meant surrender. He was wrong. This house stands because David Matheson built it right the first time. It survives because Lydia Matheson found her strength when it mattered. And it thrives because family isn't about who lives under your roof, it's about who stands with you when you fight for what's right. More applause. Mom wiped tears. To Dad, I raised my glass. Who built more than a house? He built a foundation strong enough to weather any storm. To David, the crowd echoed. Later, after everyone left, Mom and I sat on the porch swing Dad had hung 20 years ago. The house feels alive again, she said softly. It was always alive. Rick just tried to smother it. Like he tried to smother us. But we're still here, still breathing, Still fighting. A car drove slowly past. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of Dale Carlton, Rick's brother. He didn't stop, just stared at the restored house with something like shock. Good. Let him report back to Rick in prison. Let them both see what happens when you attack a military family. We don't retreat, we reload. Monday morning came too soon. My bags packed, rental car loaded. Mom stood in the driveway, trying not to cry. It's not goodbye, I reminded her. I'll be back next month to check on things. Thanksgiving for sure, Christmas definitely. I know, it's just these 3 weeks, having you here, fighting together. I remembered what it felt like to have a daughter. You always had a daughter. You just had Rick's voice in your ear drowning me out. She hugged me tight. Travel safe. Build your empire. But remember, this house is always here. Your room is always yours. I drove away, watching in the mirror as the house got smaller but never disappeared. It would be there. Solid, restored, protected, a testament to what one family could survive. Rick Carlton had tried to steal our legacy, erase our history, break our bonds. Instead, he'd reminded us how strong we really were. I merged onto the highway, New York bound but Ohio rooted. My phone rang, another army buddy of Dad's, calling about a medal he'd found in an estate sale. I gave him Morrison's number, smiling. Piece by piece, we were bringing Dad home. And Rick. Rick was exactly where he belonged, in a cage, watching the years crawl by, understanding finally that some houses are built on foundations too strong for parasites to destroy. Some families, too. The Matheson house stood proud on Maple Street, waiting for its next chapter. No longer a battlefield, no longer a prison. Just a home. My father's home. Our home. And nobody would ever take it from us again. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Please share in the comments below so we can connect and discuss what you thought about Claire's journey to reclaim her family's legacy. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit that hype button to help more people discover these powerful stories of justice and family. Your support means everything.
Thank you for listening to this story until the end. Hopefully every moment in the story has touched your heart, brought you some reflection, some emotion, and hope. Thank you for taking the time to experience it with us, and hope that each next story will always accompany you on your life journey.